Now, people of young and old have voted for what they want their country, the United States of America, to look like, to operate, and the policies that they want to see put forth at least over the next few years. And tonight, we are honored and privileged to provide insights, expertise, and opinions from across the ideological spectrum and across the generations right here, right now. Broadcasting live from the 4th floor of Buell Hall on the campus of Waynesburg University in the great borough of Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, this is Election Night in Waynesburg. Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Schwertfeger, and thank you again for joining us here on this special election night coverage of the election here on WCTV Channel 14. We're going to take a bit of time to just introduce you to the main cast of characters and anchors that you're going to be seeing all night tonight. So I'd like to start off with one of our first co-anchors, Emily Bennett. How are you doing?
Thanks, Ryan. I'm doing great. Election night was a beautiful day for people to go out to the polls. Really excited here. It's been a controversial election, and it's all coming down tonight, and I'm glad to be spending it with you guys.
I'm glad you're here with us as well. I'm looking forward to your insights, and it was great to have you on the last episode of the Waynesburg Effect, and now you're here doing election night.
Yes, it's exciting.
So thanks for joining us, Emily. And then, of course, we have Andy Stanko. A lot of you might know him from all the different sports programs. How are you doing, Andy?
Well, I'm happy to be here doing some politics, and really when you look back in this election, and you look back last year, June, July, 17, 18 months ago when Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton made their proclamations, we're going to go for this presidency. And since then, all the forecasts, prognostications, scandals, debates, gifs, vines, tweets, political ads, negative political ads, all of that comes to a hedge here today. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. And it's history. It's history in the making right here on WCTV.
Yeah, so I'm going to be here alongside both Emily and Andy, but also we have Matt Schinkel at the breaking news desk. So Matt, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing good, thanks Ryan. You guys are having me here. WCTV, the election night coverage. This is going to be an interesting election. We have two completely different candidates here. This is the closest a woman has ever come to being president. Just 96 years ago, women's suffrage granted women the right to vote, and then Donald Trump is a political outsider so far. It'll be interesting to see where America decides to go with this election. Obviously, you can see we have some results coming in now. This just happened a few moments ago. States officially declaring their votes. We'll get to that stuff a little bit later in my section. For now, we'll go back to Ryan in the studio.
Excellent. Thank you very much there, Matt. And also, we have reporting live from the Yellow Jacket office, Brendan Keeney. How are we doing over there, Brendan?
I'm doing great, Ryan, and thanks, guys. I'm reporting live from the Yellow Jacket office where some of our workers are hard at work making sure that this production is ready to go for Thursday's edition of the Yellow Jacket newspaper here. I'm really excited to be here. You know, there's been a lot of speculation in this bizarre election cycle, but I will be checking in with you guys periodically, bringing you up to speed on some national developments, as well as some of the local voting numbers here in Waynesburg. But I look forward to checking in with you guys throughout the night and conversing with you.
Welcome back to Election Night in Waynesburg here on WCTV Channel 14. I'm Ryan Schwertfeger. Glad that you're back and watching the election with us here from our studios on the 4th floor of Buell Hall. Now, one of our reporters, David Cross, went out into the community and went around campus to find out some information about how the turnout was going and what people think about the election. And now we're going to turn it over to Dave Cross.
I'm David Cross here on the campus of Waynesburg University, where I got the chance on Election Day to talk to some students about the general opinion of who they think that they would like to see as president and who they'll be voting for today.
I don't like either of them, so I'm not voting.
Both candidates are not very good. I don't think either will make a good president, but I'd take Trump over Hillary.
Personally, I decided I wasn't going to vote just because I really didn't have a strong opinion either way for either candidate. I think a lot of people felt very strongly one way or the other, and it was hard to talk to people about the whole election, because if one person thought one thing, you couldn't really give them an argument that was against what they thought. So I just said, I'm not going to vote.
So are you going to vote today?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going to stay away from that.
As you can see, the general opinion around campus is actually that students are abstaining from voting. Now, that may be because being election day, a lot of students have to go home and travel home to vote, so many of them aren't here that would be voting. But the general consensus is there's a handful of Trump supporters, a handful of Hillary supporters, and a lot of people that just feel that they don't have a good option.
Neither of them are like worth voting for.
The way I think we're kind of screwed either way, whichever happens, and I just didn't think it was. Just don't think this is a good election.
And I don't think anyone can really. We can do better, but like I don't think anything will be fixed. And either way, it's not looking too good.
With Pennsylvania being such an important battleground state this election, every vote here in Waynesburg matters, and I got the chance to come down here to the First United Methodist Church in Waynesburg, one of the polling centers here, to talk to some Greene County voters about what they think of this election, and the general consensus has been, well, not very positive for either candidate. Most of the people I've talked to have supported the Republican side, but they're not necessarily supporting Trump. The biggest advocacy I've seen is for the vice presidential Republican, Mike Pence. In fact, one lady said that she believes that Trump will be a better candidate because he will surround himself with better people, even though he is a bit of a loose cannon. And one man said it best, that at the end of the day, we all need to remember, we're all American. Reporting from Waynesburg, I'm David Cross.
Thank you, David. That was a great report there. And now joining us here at the anchor desk, our Yellow Jacket reporter, Brendan Keeney. How are you doing, Brendan?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing all right. It's a little toasty in here, right, compared to the Yellow Jacket office, I think?
Yeah, actually a lot. Like it's hard to adjust to be honest with you.
Yes, and we're sitting here most of the night, so I think you have it better in the other room. But I'm just curious, you're in the Yellow Jacket office, the paper is going to be covering, obviously, the election.
Yeah.
What are some things do you think you guys in the newspaper are looking for? What are you going to report on Thursday?
Well, we're not going to do a ton of reporting on the election itself because I don't know if we have any sources that would have groundbreaking material. But we do want to cover some things that will impact students and college students in particular, maybe college students in Waynesburg. I'm actually writing a story about that. I talked to a couple of people. Dr. Larry Stratton is one of them, and we kind of discussed some of the impacts that this election will have on students, the state of the economy when we're going to be looking for jobs in a couple of years, and student loans and things of that nature. So stories like that, stories with a more local impact, and stories that affect our age group.
Now, I know, before I toss it over to both Emily and Andy to ask a question, I just wanted to ask you really quickly. Obviously, you guys published a poll from the college Democrats that said that Trump was going to be leading there, or leading in terms of a campus vote. Clinton came a little behind there, he was 10 points, I believe, behind Trump. Why do you, obviously a lot of people from this area go here to Waynesburg University, but we do attract some people from other parts of the state, New York State, I'm from New Jersey, Ohio, etc.
I'm from Buffalo.
And you're from Buffalo. Do you think that's just an anomaly that maybe this area, because of where we're situated, there was such a high Trump number? Or do you think that's saying something that young people are shockingly deciding to go for Trump?
No, I don't think that young people are going for Trump. I would actually think quite the opposite. A lot of younger people were going with the Bernie Sanders route, and then a lot of them are settling for Hillary Clinton. I think a lot of it has to do with the culture of southwestern Pennsylvania. It's more rural. It's definitely a blue-collar kind of environment. And another thing is that this is a school that has a Christian slant. So a lot of those conservative principles are embedded in a lot of the students that go here. And that's probably one reason that this particular university is more conservative than what you would find at maybe a West Virginia university or a larger, more diverse group of people.
I know you've been on this program before, and you said that you had supported John Kasich for president. You haven't been on the Waynesburg Effect since then, so obviously now we know that John Kasich was not the nominee, and it was Donald Trump. And I know that you had said, and obviously I just introduced you as someone who did not support Donald Trump. So I quickly presume you voted for Hillary Clinton.
I suppose you could.
Okay, so you voted for Hillary Clinton, and you're from Ohio, which is an important swing state. So I'd like for you to kind of explain, why did you decide, why could you not stomach voting for Donald Trump as a Republican?
Well, I think Donald Trump will be so disastrous to the party and to the country. I don't believe in his economic plan, first of all. I think he's taking a more isolationist approach in regards to trade that I cannot agree with as a Republican. In foreign policy, I think he's inexperienced. And I also don't trust this idea that he'll surround himself with the right people. Frankly, he surrounded himself with people like Newt Gingrich and Rudy Giuliani, who at one point I had respect for, but how they've, especially those two in particular, how they behaved in this past election cycle, I think they've really shown, it seems to me that they've gone a bit off the deep end, denying reality at times. So another thing I would say is I think we're voting for a Democratic president now and a Republican in 2020, or a Republican now and a Democrat in 2020. That's what we're looking at. Both of these candidates are weak. Both of these candidates, I think, have very little integrity, and I think both of these candidates are one-term presidents who will have memorable administrations, but for all the wrong reasons.
Thank you, Ryan. So here right now, so far, we have it reported that Hillary Clinton has 77, Donald Trump has 66 of these electoral votes. We also have Marco Rubio. He has officially won in the state of Florida, and then Todd Young has won in the state of Indiana as well. Those Senate seats are safe for him. Now looking at New York, that you have just mentioned is closing soon. That is largely Democratic. Right now, swinging Democratic, going to help Hillary Clinton. That's 29 electoral votes for her. Looking right now at some of the states, also South Carolina, officially hers, Illinois, hers, that was announced a little bit earlier. Looking at these tighter races so far, we have Florida, that's going to also be 29, and Ohio, that's another swing state that right now is highly contested, a battleground state between both of these nominees right now. The state of Florida is getting very close, although this is Ohio. Trump right now winning Ohio by, look at that, just 400 votes. This is extremely tight. Right now, we only have 37% in right now. Ohio is a very tightly contested state. Florida, similar. However, Donald Trump is leading Florida by a slim margin. Both of these states are going to be crucial for Donald Trump if he hopes to be able to win this election. He's also going to have to get another couple battleground states for him as well to help turn the tide of this election in his favor.
Turn over to Andy. We talked a lot about the different Senate races that are going on. That might be just as important as the race for president. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're picking, what you've been seeing online?
Well, absolutely. You look at the Senate race, these Senate races. Republicans currently coming into tonight a 54-46 edge in terms of those seats. However, 34 seats up for grabs, 24 of which GOP, and races we had our eyes on, Marco Rubio in Florida, as well as Indiana, an open seat after Dan Coach retired. Indy, the first seat that would be decided, and both of those going to the Republicans. However, Illinois, there's one that goes to the other side, a pickup by the Democrats. It was Mark Kirk, who in 2010 replaced President Obama, or was there to replace President Obama, won again in 2010, and now he is upstaged. And I'm looking at a lot of those guys who won in 2010 the first time around, and a lot of those guys, that was a result of the backlash to the Affordable Care Act. They were able to ride that wave of momentum of conservatism into the Senate, and now we're going to see if they can keep that momentum and keep those seats. I'm looking at Missouri, New Hampshire, North Carolina as well, especially, because the magic number the Democrats are looking to pick up is 4. If they can also take the White House, and then Tim Kaine acts as that tiebreaker should they ever get into a 50-50 situation.
Do you think we could have a scenario? I mean, you said it's pretty positive so far for the Republicans tonight, so far.
They've held on in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and Florida, and the ones that were contested were Indiana and Florida were ones that coming in we knew, keep your eye on Marco Rubio, keep your eye for that open seat in Indiana after the retirement, and they've cleaned up there. However, again, Illinois switching sides. So Democrats +1 right now on that Senate side.
All right. Emily, I'm just curious if you want to say a little bit as to what you're looking at, but I just want to just give a little bit of news right now that we're just getting. Trump now 1.6% lead in the state of Florida, and that's a state that he really needs to win tonight if he wants to have a chance to make it to the White House. But Emily, what are some of the things that you've been looking at so far during the little break that we just had? What stands out to you?
Well, we're going to go to Greene County here. We're looking at the Pam Snyder, Betsy McClure race. Right now, Pam Snyder is up 54-46, so obviously that's been a race that's been really talked about as being really tight. A lot of people, it's toss-up here, and I know a lot of people have opinions, and there's definitely been back and forth with the two of them, but right now, it looks like Pam's holding on for now, and we'll see what happens the rest of the night.
Back election night in Waynesburg, and I'm very pleased to have a couple of guests from on campus. We've got Olivia Schultz-Flandis from the College Republicans and Blair Shea from the Young Democrats. Olivia, Blair, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First question for you two. Olivia, why are you Republican? Blair, why are you a Democrat? Olivia, we'll start with you in the middle.
Well, I am a Republican because I'm more of a conservative Republican. I believe in fiscal conservatism. I believe that there needs to be a balanced budget in the Senate. I'm less strong on like social policies and more on the economy. I believe there needs to be larger federal government accountability, and I guess in many ways, I think that the Republicans, I guess, generally do that better than the Democrats do.
Blair, why are you a Democrat?
Well, I'm a Democrat because it's kind of the only thing that you grow up to be. Living in southwestern Pennsylvania all my life, this is all like I really know. I've looked into the Republican views a lot, but it's nothing that I've found that I could see myself as. I took many personality tests and tests to try to like graph me in a section, and I still ended up Democrat every time. So.
Welcome back to Waynesburg's live election special. Coming up, we will have some more breaking news, but right now I'm sitting here with Dr. Waddell, a political science professor here at Waynesburg University. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is a pleasure.
What were your feelings for that first time being able to vote?
Well, it wasn't like it was this massive event. I was a freshman at the Naval Academy at the time, so I had to vote by absentee ballot. And that was back in the day when absentee ballots were really kind of boring. You got it, you poked a few holes in it, you sent it in, and that was about it. But it was fun. It was neat. It was kind of like, hey, I get to do something. And this is one of the things I encourage my students. If for no other reason, vote because it's a declaration of your adulthood. It's kind of sticking it to the gray old people like me who are running the place, saying my vote is just as good as yours. So I really encourage young people to develop the habit of doing so.
And now we're going to be going over to Brendan Keeney, who's reporting from the Yellow Jacket office to see what's going on in the races and what the newspaper is covering. Brendan, what do you got for us?
Hey Ryan, thanks. We're having a great time here in the Yellow Jacket office discussing some possible outcomes of the election, a little bit of surprises in some of the states thus far. But on a more local note, Trump has 68% of the Greene County vote, and Pat Toomey has 56% of the Greene County vote.
We will throw it to our focus group now for the first time, Ryan and company in Buell 416.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Schwertfeger. Now we're going to do a little bit of a fun segment here. We are here in Buell 416, the big room here on the 4th floor of Buell Hall, where we've assembled a focus group of different students here at Waynesburg University, and they're going to talk a little bit about the election, what they think so far, why they voted the way they voted. I'm curious if we can do a show of hands, given the information that we know right now, who thinks that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States? Raise your hand. Every single person in this room. Why?
Yeah, I think he has a really popular movement. He's gotten a lot of people out to vote that I think historically have not voted in the past. And because he has this mass of people behind him, he has been having big rallies and stuff. I think that's really helped him.
All right, go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers don't lie. We've seen Trump ahead in all these states in which he's previously been predicted to be losing right now. He should be losing a lot of these states that he's projected to be winning right now. But I think the key thing we're seeing right now is the silent majority. They're the ones that didn't have a voice in the polling, and they're coming out now in force. So that's why we're seeing this.
Obviously, I think these two candidates are probably the two most unfavorable people who have run for the White House in a very long time. Who would agree with that statement?
To put it lightly.
Who would you say you were extremely excited to vote for one of the candidates? You really liked one of the candidates. Okay. How many of you would say you voted for your candidate because it was you really didn't want the other candidate? Oh, wow. Hand shot up. Explain.
Well, I mean, I'm actually libertarian, but...
So why didn't you vote for Gary Johnson then? Why did you vote for Hillary?
The fact of the matter is, I supported, early on in the process, I supported Marco Rubio and then John Kasich. First off, Rand Paul, of course. Rand Paul, then Rubio, then Kasich.
Oh, you hopped around.
Yes. And then after that, I supported Austin Peterson. Then he lost. Then I did support Gary Johnson until I saw the chance that Trump would win Pennsylvania, so I ended up voting for Clinton.
I just want to take a quick walk up here to someone who's been somewhat quiet, Mr. Charles up here. You served our country. I mean, we are very appreciative of that. I just wanted to ask you, I know you said you voted for Donald Trump.
Right.
A lot of people, and Hillary Clinton's been trying to make the argument that the military shouldn't get behind Donald Trump. They would be scared taking us into war or doing something, being irresponsible. Having served, can you provide a little insight as to why you decided to vote for Donald Trump this election?
Well, due to the fact that she couldn't answer the phone at 3 a.m. in the morning when about 30 or 40 calls came in from Ghazi. When you leave people out like that hanging by a thread, and it's just not happening. And she's never talked about veterans benefits or anything of that nature. Donald Trump has come out and said he's going to support the veterans. He's going to fix the VA, which the VA has fallen drastically under the Democratic presidency. There's just a lot of nonsense going on in there. Veterans have died waiting to get in. And it's just, she doesn't care. She didn't care when her husband was in. I was serving when he was president, and he ruined the military. And in the past 8 years, I got a brother that's in the Marine Corps right now, and it's bad. So this country can't, if it wants to stay as a power and project its power like it has been, we can't afford another person, 4 years of the same old stuff.
Now, I'm just curious before I ask my next question, and I know we have to watch the time as well. Was Donald Trump your first choice, or was there someone else that you supported before Donald Trump, out of curiosity?
Pretty much Donald Trump was my first choice, and due to the fact that I liked how he just came out and said what he had to say. There was no wishy-washy. He said what he said, and he means what he says, and that's what I like. I don't like people who kind of, I got to watch what I say.
But now, speaking of Hillary Clinton and trying to get out the vote and the youth, we had Matt Schinkel. He went to Philadelphia yesterday where Hillary Clinton held a rally in front of Independence Hall, and here's some footage from that.
With just one day until the 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton traveled to Independence Mall on Monday to campaign one last time in the heart of Philadelphia until Election Day this Tuesday. With this whole election cycle coming down to tomorrow's result, Clinton was sure to bring out all the stars on Monday.
Among the at least 30,000 people in attendance at the Hillary Clinton rally on Monday was a slew of special guests in Philadelphia to help campaign one final time for the presidential candidate. Performing as special guests at the rally were two artists from just across the Delaware River, Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen.
There is no one, man nor woman, more qualified to be the next president of these United States than Hillary Clinton.
Of course, musicians were not the only special guests in attendance at the rally. Current First Lady Michelle Obama was also there to speak on Hillary Clinton.
If we stay home or if we play around with a protest vote, then Hillary's opponent will win. Period. End of story.
Others in politics included the former President Bill Clinton and current President Barack Obama.
We now have the chance to elect a 45th president who will build on our progress, who will finish the job, who already has the respect of leaders around the world and the people they serve, who is smart and who is steady and who is tested. Someone who comes to this office as well prepared as anyone who has ever run. More than me, more than Bill, the next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton.
If you believe college should be more affordable, you have to vote. If you believe we must reform our criminal justice system so everyone has respect for the law and everyone is respected by the law, you have to vote. If you believe we need to protect our kids and pass common sense gun safety reforms, you have to vote. If you believe we must raise the minimum wage and finally guarantee equal pay for women, then you need to vote.
With the final hours now approaching for Hillary Clinton and her campaign, America's next president will soon be decided. For WCTV, I'm Matthew Schinkel.
Back on election night in Waynesburg, thank you, Matthew Schinkel and Sean Mead, for putting together that package, traveling to Philadelphia to bring you that. And an update, Donald Trump takes Ohio, 167-109, the latest electoral numbers we have for you. But I am very pleased to have with me in the studio tonight Dr. Larry Stratton here at Waynesburg. And Dr. Stratton, you are an expert in the fields of economics, constitutional law. You look at this election, and as far as the stakes of this election, what's really on the line, both economically and in terms of constitutional law and issues pertaining to that?
Well, thank you, Andy. It's pretty clear that the next president will end up appointing 2 or 3 or even 4 justices based on the simple demographics of how many of them are up there in their 70s and going into their 80s. And so it's likely that the new president will get to appoint some new justices. Of course, Judge Merrick Garland was appointed by President Obama, but never hasn't gotten through the Senate yet. We'll see what happens, depending on what happens tonight. So there's the constitutional issue, not only for the Supreme Court, but for all the lower courts in the country. And then, of course, we have the continuation of President Obama's economic policies, but really, I'm not even sure that Hillary Clinton would be a continuation of Obama, because she has proposed massive tax increases and actually increased regulation beyond what he has done in the past 8 years.
All right, Dr. Stratton here with us. Did you think Donald Trump would make it this far? And are you surprised by what's going on so far this evening?
Well, it's very intriguing because nothing has been called in Florida yet. Mm-hmm. It's still very close with Trump ahead. He didn't really lose by very much in Virginia. Ohio was just called for Trump. The New York Times is predicting, a 70% chance of a Trump victory. I just got a text from a friend in New York City who reported that to me. He was shocked.
So, shocking, of course. You led students to meet Justice Scalia a couple of years ago.
That's right.
He passed away this past February, and in terms of replacing him, what are the ramifications each side in terms of replacing him, whoever wins this election, and then beyond that, you mentioned a couple of other justices. What are the big constitutional issues on the docket in the near future that might be determined by a Supreme Court in the next couple of years?
Well, there are many issues dealing with civil rights law, dealing with religious freedom, and dealing with the free exercise of religion. There are economic issues relating to economic regulation before the court, which are at stake as well. Issues of federalism, the authority of the federal government, how to interpret statutes, the deference toward the executive. There are many, many issues which the new wave of justices will have to decide.
Because he is someone who projected Donald Trump coming out on top. He had Trump carrying Florida, North Carolina, PA, Ohio, Michigan, Iowa, Nevada, all going to Trump. It's not been that exact mixture, but certainly things are looking good, and Kevin looks pretty smart right now.
Yeah, well, we're going to go to Kevin McCullough right now here on WCTV. Kevin McCullough, the 15th most listened to talk radio personality here in the United States. Howdy, Kevin. How are you?
Hi, guys.
So I know you started off as a Cruz supporter in this election, and then once you saw that Ted Cruz wasn't going to make it, you went full in on Donald Trump. I interned for you over the summer, just so our viewers know. And I know you have a big Donald Trump poster on your wall, and you, even though you had some reservations about it, you said it was important, we had to stop Hillary Clinton from being president. Why did you, unlike some other people who are never Trump, why did you decide, you know what, I am going to go for Donald Trump and vote for him, even though my guy didn't win?
Oh, it was a super easy decision, and that was Hillary Clinton is the most dangerous threat to constitutional democracy and our republic that we've ever seen. So I had to do anything I could to try to stop her. And if you look at my commentary over the last number of months, it hasn't been very pro-Trump. It's been very anti-Hillary. But I figured I could do that with great integrity because the danger she presented was just that outstanding. And I didn't go all in for Trump, to be candid. I was very strategic in working against Hillary and letting people draw their own conclusions. But in the last couple of weeks, I have gone really hard on the Never Trump people because there's too much on the line. And when you're looking at Supreme Court, economic policy, trade policy, national security, any number of things that she has proven herself feckless and very untrustworthy in, you just realize we've got to start over with this thing. And an outside private sector executive doesn't sound that bad to me.
Do you think that, given the results that we're seeing so far, do you think the Never Trump people did come out and wind up voting for Donald Trump, or do you think that maybe what we're seeing is more of that silent majority that Donald Trump has been talking about? Now they're coming out and actually voting.
Well, the exit polling is telling us that 94% of Republicans voted for Donald Trump. So it looks like. And let me just say that I think that Never Trump was largely just a creation of media, and it was mostly media personalities that were keeping it alive. I think the average Republican in their home district realized the same thing I did, that Hillary was a bigger danger than anything else, and she had to be stopped. So I don't know that I put a lot of... to answer the question most simply, 94% of Republicans supported Trump in the polls today, according to the exit polls. That says that those people came home. We got them back into the camp, and they supported him.
All right, now I'm going to turn it over to my co-anchor, Andy Sanko.
Kevin, thank you so much for being with us tonight. You mentioned you were more anti-Hillary than pro-Trump, but should Trump win the election, what does 4 years of Donald Trump look like?
I think it looks, especially if he's given a Senate and a House that will work with him, and it looks like that's what the American people are going to give him tonight. If everything holds right now, and thank you for noting my map and my predictions. It was really funny at the beginning of the evening. I wasn't feeling too good, and then people started saying, this doesn't look like what we expected, and all of a sudden my map looked really good. And I have lost now Colorado, and I'm probably going to lose Pennsylvania, but I still think that Donald has a really good shot at pulling this thing out. 4 years of Donald Trump, I think, is going to result in lower taxes. I think it's going to be a great deal of reduction in terms of regulation on small business. I think job creation is going to explode, and I think that you're going to get conservatives on the Supreme Court. I think you're going to get a coherent, strong national security policy that will not be necessarily interventionist, but it will be very much targeted at keeping the American people safe. And that's going to start with border security, but it's going to expand to killing terrorists if and when we need to. It's a non-traditional Republican that is winning tonight. But that's not necessarily bad, given that the nation is in pretty bad shape.
As we leave you this evening, we don't have it called. 254 for Donald Trump, 209 for Hillary Clinton. Pennsylvania is still neck and neck right now. But as we leave you, unless somehow it's like a Cubs-esque shocking turn of events, it looks like Donald Trump is going to be the 45th president of the United States of America. Quite an amazing roller coaster. I have to thank my co-anchors, Emily Bennett and Andy Sanko, also Brendan Keeney and Matt Schinkel at the Breaking News Desk. Again, thank you to all of the staff, all of the crew, the professors who have been around, the people who made packages for this show. I am extremely thankful. Words, like I said, cannot describe how amazing this has been. And again, thank you to all the crew and all the people who are watching this broadcast. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you again. You can tune to your local coverage to see what's going on. But as we leave you, Donald Trump looks like he's going to be the 45th president of the United States. Thank you again. Thank you for watching Channel 14. I'm Ryan Schwerfeger. Have a good night.